Welcome back to Gold Derby. I'm Christopher Rosen. I'm joined by Joyce. Joyce, later we're going to talk about Emilia Perez on Netflix right now.
You could watch it right now instead of listening to us idiots.
You could second screen Emilia Perez. I mean, watch us on your
Is it
phone.
is it a second screen movie?
No, with the subtitles, I think you kind of need to pay attention.
Unless you're fluent in Spanish.
Correct. In which case, then you should definitely second screen us or second screen Emilia Perez and watch us. No, Joyce, we were going to use the early part of this episode to talk. I made so many changes to my predictions, and I think maybe you
As
made some
as you
too.
do.
I think maybe you did too.
I did some like prelim changes, I would say, but I might make some more now. Like I just made some changes last week just to get certain things in and out without deep thought, you
Okay.
know?
Uh, I make a lot of tweaks. I'm
Well, of
constantly
course you do.
fiddling. I'm fiddling with the
You're
levels,
fiddling it right now.
but I did make some changes where I was like, I think this. I feel like this was like the first significant like refresh that I've done because we've seen some things since we last spoke. We saw Nosferatu.
Do you have it at number one now?
No, but I enjoyed it. Good movie. We
Yeah.
saw what you saw Wicked again. More people have
I've
seen Wicked.
seen I've seen Wicked twice within a week now.
It got and it continues like to explode. The reviews for Gladiator II came out, Joyce, and they're fine.
They're exactly what we expected when we talked about them 3 weeks ago.
Before the reviews, already to go on a tangent, before the reviews came out, I felt like online the vibes were like, this movie sucks and it's going to get killed. And then the reviews came out and they're like, it's actually fine and people do like it. So I think,
I would say like the online reaction was mixed, and I think the reviews were mixed as well, which is like, it's like I don't even know what the score is now on any of those sites, but it's probably like in the 60s, 70s,
I think it
which
was
is what we
67
talked
on
about.
Rotten Tomatoes. Let's see, Gladiator 2. I'm looking right now.
Like we knew it wasn't getting like
Oh,
80s, 90s, so
77% on Rotten Tomatoes.
yeah.
I think you're right that it's mixed. Most people think it's good or fine, but I feel like online there was like a lot. There's a loud vocal film Twitter minority who's like, this movie's a piece of shit, and it's
Oh
not.
yeah, yeah, but
But
there's still people who like it, so it's
yeah,
mixed. Like it's more mixed than the hyperbolic Wicked reactions.
yes, 67 on Metacritic, the same score as the original Gladiator. So I think if you were like
And
hoping your
also
reviews,
original Gladiator, different time, different
true,
criticism era.
right, maybe more harsh criticism, I would argue in an earlier time.
Yes, yes.
So I would say if you were hoping these reviews would like disqualify Gladiator, uh, that's an L. You took an L this week with the reviews.
The reviews were fine. That's all.
Totally fine.
Like I don't think it changed its standing in any way,
No, I
or
don't
like
either.
I like it. Yeah, this is exactly what I expected. I don't
Yes,
think it makes it stronger or weaker in Best Picture.
correct. But I think if you were hoping to, I think most people are hoping to make it weaker, and I don't think that has shown true. I don't think it's made it stronger either. Anyway, so I made a ton of changes, Joyce. The only thing we really, so I still haven't seen Baby Girl, which I know you've seen. Good
I don't
movie.
have it in Best Picture if that's what you're
No,
asking.
and we still haven't seen A Complete Unknown, but they're finally gonna pull back
They're
the
rolling
curtain,
it out.
Joyce. In the coming weeks. So before Thanksgiving, we'll probably be talking a little more intelligently about how that movie will play.
You'll put it at number one.
But for now, I don't have it number one. For now, I have I made so I was had Amelia Perez in number one since Telluride, and then now I have Conclave there.
Of course you do.
I don't know if Conclave is going to win Best Picture. I still don't know what on earth is going to win Best Picture based on this field. But I think nothing has done better in the last few weeks than Conclave. It has become a true movie that real people have seen. I know real people who have seen it, not just industry people. It has broken out, and people really like the movie. So I was like, I'm putting it number one, and I put Edward Berger at number one too. I pulled a
How about you
Joyce.
finally dropped Ridley?
No, I dropped Ridley for my picks, but not from number one, but not for my picks. I dropped Jock Audillard for my picks finally because I moved Amelia Perez down. So I'll just do quick. So when I did for Best Picture now, I still have the same seven that we've been talking about, uh, which are Conclave and Nora, the Brutalist. Then I have Wicked in fourth. I have Amelia Perez in fifth, Dune Part 2 in sixth, Sing Sing in seventh. I have Gladiator 2 in eighth. And then I put The Substance in Best Picture, Joyce, at ninth, and A Real Pain in 10th as like a
Of course you
placeholder.
did. Of course you did.
A Real Pain as a placeholder until Complete Unknown to get a sense. But that's what I did. I on our YouTube page, Joyce, we got inundated with comments about The Substance this week. Inundated. I know you don't read the comments.
I do
I'll,
not.
I'll just tell you. Briefly tell you. There are about 12 comments from people, many of them outraged because we were not in
Well,
love with
12
The
is not
Substance.
that many.
For us, it is.
That's true, but
And
in
not only
general,
and a lot of upvotes on the comments. So I don't know if it was a coordinated campaign of Substance fans or a bot army that came to play. Either way, I was like, man, they really think this Substance is great. And I wasn't bullied into putting it in so much as everything we've gone to, that's seemingly the only movie people want to talk about. When we went to Nosferatu, I heard many people that was like one of the first two things they were talking about as I was eavesdropping on all these conversations.
well, as I mentioned last week, I think it's a film that will give people FOMO, like voters FOMO.
It has become, when I was at Telluride, I was talking to somebody and they were saying about Emilia Perez, and they were saying it's like it's nice that this seems like it's the cool movie of the year. And I'm not saying that Emilia Perez is uncool, but I think The Substance has become the cool movie to me.
Yeah. And then so last night, we're recording this on Wednesday, and last night I saw Wicked again, and I was talking to someone else about The Substance.
Mhm.
Not a voter, but that's just like, the It movie to
Yes.
talk about right now. That doesn't mean it's gonna do well, like,
No.
but the that's the vibe right now in November.
It, it could.
Because like people can watch the movie and they might not like it,
Yes.
but it's still a talking point.
It's a buzzy movie right now. We're in November, so whether it can carry this buzz through is obviously unclear. But I think there is so much passion for it that like we've talked about like Nickel Boys as a potential like would be like, oh, there's so much passion there for the critics or whatever. People who love it. And Sing Sing, I think that is true. Where the people who love it love it. And I do think The Substance is like should be talked about in the same way, whether that's enough people who love it. But I do think it's like while the body horror aspect and it's totally unlike a lot of things that they've ever embraced, and it's maybe not even as great as the people who love it think, because I think it's like a solid movie. It wasn't my fave, but I think
Same.
it's good.
Yeah.
um to me, I just think it's like it feels like it's mainstream in a way that like Everything Everywhere was a little bit, and it feels like it just has that kind of like, oh, this is so unlike the things we usually typically like, but also we like it. I don't know. It might be all hot air in November and like it will die off.
Well,
But
I think it's like strong conceptually.
yes.
And I think it also makes people feel smart.
And yes, and I would say when we did our early picks, I think one of we both thought of Night Bitch as like a movie that would speak to obviously like women and like Academy members and about like the industry, like their way they're kind of using motherhood as a way to like talk about issues with women in the industry as well. And I'm like, The Substance does this so much better than Night Bitch. And I think like it has just completely like if you were ready to put Night Bitch and Amy Adams and it all over the place, then you should actually be thinking The Substance could do that because it's like a similar themed movie, but way better executed. So
Yeah. Um, and yeah, yeah. And I mean, like to me, I think The Substance is still a wee bit too long,
yes.
but I don't think it's ever not engaging.
And the other reason I put it in, and then like, was I do think actors will like the movie a lot, and performers will like Katy Perry. I'm not saying like Katy Perry is like an arbiter of,
That's why you put it in. Katy
but I
Perry.
did see like she was like, "This is the movie of the year." I think. Did Mikey Madison also say she loved it? Was that one of her two favorite movies? Did she mention that? I forget who. Somebody.
I mean, like a lot of people have
And I'm
mentioned it.
just like, I think actors and performers will really respond to it, especially because you have the Demi Moore, the character is like an aging performer being like cast aside, but it also is not old. You know what I mean? Like Demi Moore in the movie is not old. I think she had just turned 50, right? So it's like, that's not old. And the industry thinking that, I don't know, I think it's like, it seems like it
I
could
mean,
benefit.
Demi Moore just turned 62 on Monday. That's not old.
No, it's
So,
not. So anyway, I have the substance in, and I put a real pain in, which you obviously were hip to for months, but I was like, I still could see a complete unknown sneaking in here. I didn't put Nosferatu in, though I really enjoyed it. Um, and yeah, I didn't go back to Blitz. I didn't go back to Nickel Boys. So this is what I got. Did you make any other updates? I think did you put Wicked in? I'd imagine.
I did. I put Wicked in last week when
Okay.
I first saw it. So I just but I what did I drop? Oh, I dropped September 5. That's what I did.
Oh, I dropped December 5 too. So here's a funny thing. Completely did not mention that that's what we both dropped. But talk to me about September 5, Joyce, because I feel like this movie does not exist.
It doesn't. It comes out in 2 weeks. And I've since rewatched it twice. So and it's, still great, still
Really good.
well made. Um, but it's very quiet right now. I'll be interested to see what the temperature will be like when it opens. It's also opening on Thanksgiving week, which is kind of awkward. Um, and that's like a week after Wicked and Gladiator, the week of Moana 2. So, um, but yeah, I think it could still get nominations, but maybe not Best Picture. I don't know. We'll see. Like I would like it to get Best Picture. I think it's one of the better movies this year that I've seen,
Yes.
but it feels really minor right now. So I don't know if Scott still has it in first. Probably
I don't
does.
know if he's updated, but obviously Scott Feinberg was the top pundit driver of September 5's Best Picture
Yeah, I mean, I think
vibes.
most people who had it were like us, and we had it in our lower tier. Like I always just had it in 10th.
I had it in,
So
I think I had it up in eighth, seventh, eighth, probably, because I did think it felt like, like we talked about the playbook is Spotlight and Argo, but it is so quiet. Paramount obviously already has Gladiator 2, which seemingly is their main priority, and it comes out like right on the back of Gladiator 2. I don't know. I feel like it has been way too quiet around it. So I don't know. I'm happy if it got in, I wouldn't be surprised, but I definitely think it's now out for me, obviously, and you too, as it turns out.
yeah, and then apparently now my 10, I don't like it when it's this way, but my 10 is actually the 10 in the odds.
Oh wow.
I don't like that.
What are the 10 in the odds then?
I don't have it in the same order, but the odds top 10 are Honora, Brutalist, Conclave, Emilia, Dune, Sing Sing, A Real Pain, Gladiator, Nickel Boys, and Wicked.
Hmm. So I took out Nickel Boy. I don't have Nickel Boys, but I have the rest, and
I
I
still
have the
have Nickel
substance.
Boys. I'm gonna still keep it because I have it at 100 to 1.
I, I
So
was talking to somebody about this, and we've talked about this with our faces. I was talking to somebody this in Nosferatu too. It'll clearly, obviously, get the bump from the film critics groups. So in a couple of weeks, when New York Film Critics gives out Nickel Boys Best Picture, uh, that'll be like, oh, it's back, and it's coming out around that time. So I think it's still in the conversation, but I do still think it's maybe not. I mean, it could get in certainly. I have real pain there. I could see a complete unknown, but whatever. I guess. And then what do you have winning or in first? Not
I
that
still have
anybody's gonna
Honora in
win.
first. I haven't,
Okay.
I'm like, I'm not thinking about
So I
that at
went
all.
Conclave and Enora. So then for director, I took out Jacques Audiard, which I think I've done before. I kept these. I have Edward Berger, Brady Corbet, Sean Baker, Denny Villeneuve, and Ridley Scott. I'm still going with Ridley. I think he'll make it in.
Okay. I don't think I'm gonna do anything here, even though I don't trust I have the top five, but
Uh,
I'm gonna keep it.
so for best actress, you'll be shocked to know I have Demi Moore in. Just went for it.
Proceeding.
And I have Mikey, Carla Sofia Gascon, Angelina Jolie, and Nicole Kidman. Baby Girl still seems quiet, but also I think Nicole is actually pretty fine and like
Baby
remains
Girl, they're doing a lot of screenings and Q&As with her.
tastemaker screenings, Q
Yes,
and
yes.
A's. Nicole's one of the elder statesmen on the Vanity Fair Hollywood issue cover.
Yeah, dropped today.
Dropped today, and she's right up front with Glenn
Dev
Powell,
Patel,
Dev
yeah.
Patel, Zendaya, and Zoe Saldana.
Did you watch the video of she was mocking her clapping? We've bullied her into a golf clap, guys.
I will say, like, usually this is good for the covers, usually go for like one or two Oscar nominees. And I'm like, well, Zoe's there, and I think Nicole is the other one. So I think that's fine. Um, and I went with Demi Moore because I was like, I think the other people here that I think most people would have are Marianne Jean Baptiste, I think is in the top five in the odds. I think she's
Yeah, and
fair.
I don't like this again because now I still have to say I don't like that.
And Saoirse Ronan's still hanging around for the outrun. And Cynthia Erivo obviously ascending for Wicked, though most of the headlines remain focused on Ariana Grande. I was like, I think if I'm so bullish on the substance, or at least can talk myself into the substance getting in for Best Picture, I do think Demi could get in for Best Actress over Marianne Jean-Baptiste. Though I wonder if that's wrong. And obviously, I think Marianne Jean-Baptiste will get in at BAFTA and Critics' Choice as well, probably. So we'll see. I don't know.
I don't want to have the same top five, but I don't. I think I'm still gonna keep Marianne for now.
Okay. Best Actor. We talked about this. I don't know if we talked. Do we talk about this in our column or with our faces? But I just went back to Daniel Craig for queer. Rather than try to fuck around with this and find something else, I was like, I kind of feel like this is a category with four actors, and then the fifth is Daniel Craig, and people are just going to put him
Four
in.
actors, one of which hasn't been seen yet, but
Yes,
we just have him in.
yes, and I feel like to overthink it is it's tough, and especially because I think for that alternate for Craig, you could pick between like four or five performances legitimately, and I wonder if any one of them will pop. And Craig, I
Yeah, we
don't think
talked
is
about this
getting.
last week, and how like what if it was just Daniel all along?
Yeah,
So, I also put him back in. I can still see him missing in the end, but it would really depend on how the season plays out in the precursors, which obviously we don't have
right.
information on that now. Like maybe there'll be more signs come January that someone else might be stronger than we think they are right now on November 13th,
Yeah,
you know?
I
So
yeah, I still think that'll be Jesse Eisenberg. I think he could emerge as like the guy, but
he could. Yeah, like he's really great in a real pain. I know like Kieran dominates all the headlines and the praise and everything, but he has some great moments in there. And I just talked to him
oh,
yesterday, and if you had had the same conversation I had with him, you would put him in.
first place probably.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like it reminds me a little of it's a different movie and like whatever, but it does remind me a little of like maybe an inverse of Lost Daughter, kind of, where it was like everyone had like Olivia in, and then uh
Maggie.
and then Jessie Buckley like surprised, right? Like kind of as supporting actress.
Well, she had the BAFTA nomination, which, that was still juried back then,
And
no longer now.
right.
So that was the tea leaf for her, and she like bumped out like Ruth Negga.
And and I kind of wonder if it's reversed here, where it's like Jesse gets like one precursor or something, and then is actually ends up getting in with Kieran because it's such a double act. And Jesse, I think real ones know Jesse's like really great in the movie too. Like he's so good in it, and like almost the more difficult part because he has to play off Kieran's like obviously awesome performance. You know what I mean? Like it's so much more.
Well,
He's so
Kieran has the
engaging.
flashy
Yeah,
performance,
flashy.
obviously.
There you go.
But he has like two great scenes in the film. Obviously the dinner scene and then
Mhm.
the balcony scene
Yeah. So I'm
after
like, I
that.
think he could get. I think he can get in, and but I'll stick with Craig for now because I also think people are lazy and they might just be like Daniel Craig is fifth in the odds on Gold Derby, so he's going to get in. Like
I
print a
mean, I still
legend.
don't believe he'll get into SAG. I don't even know who I put in SAG. I need to look at that
I think I
later.
put Glenn Powell in for Hitman
Of course
Joyce.
he did.
Uh, for supporting actress, I went a little nutty here. So I have Zoe Saldaña, Isabella Rossellini, and Felicity Jones, and then I put Ariana Grande in for Wicked, which we talked about that I would obviously do, and I put Margaret Qualley in for The Substance. I have forsaken the Selenators or Selenators. How would you say it?
Explainators. So you're doing the Arianators?
Yes, and I'm doing double substance. I just don't think if I have Demi Moore and I actually cannot not have Margaret Qualley in, I think they're a package deal. So I think if one gets in, they both get in. And I think if they neither gets in, then neither gets in. You know what I mean? Like I think it's just two or none.
I understand the thinking, but I don't necessarily think it needs to work out that way because they're different races. And obviously, supporting actress is way more open than best
Right.
actress. So
But I dropped Selena and I dropped uh Daniel Deadweiler, which we had discussed.
yeah. I'm gonna drop Danielle too.
Wow.
Sorry.
Wow.
I'm gonna put in Ariana.
Wow. One of us. One
I have
of us.
Ariana and Selena, so
Wow, you're better than me because I dropped Selena. I would love. I say this with love. I would still love Selena to get in, but I wonder if Emilia Perez is as strong as maybe we initially thought. And I do think the oxygen around the movie is so focused on Zoe and Carla that unless it's like a real phenomenon, which it might become again, and was obviously such a great play over the festivals, I wonder if she'll get in. I don't know.
Well, as we also talked about, the performances sell that film.
Yes.
So, and the category is open enough for her to coattail
Yeah.
and get in. Because it's like, I mean, you have Margaret, but then you look at the other options who are Danielle, potential lone nominee, Ingenue Ellis Taylor for Nickel Boys, Saoirse for Blitz. Um,
I would love for Selena to get in, but
and then after Margaret and the odds is Joan Chen for Dee Dee,
yeah.
who's been campaigning.
I feel like a New York or LA Critics Award is in her future. Probably
And then
LA.
Natasha Leone for his three daughters.
Future SAG nominee, maybe.
Toni Collette, juror number two.
My fave.
And then Carol Kane for Between the Temples. Now we're into the 100 to 1 odds. Everyone else here has 100 to 1. So,
Yeah. I still I still remain like I could see going back to Selena, obviously. You know me. I changed a million times, but I don't know. Right now I feel like Margaret would get in if Demi Moore's gonna get in.
yeah. And I think, like with Ariana, I think Wicked will be huge.
I think
And
it's yeah.
she is the MVP of the film. Like the screening I went to last night was a nom-com screening for SAG.
Uh
Everyone loved her performance. They were like clapping up after all her line readings, which I expected, but it was just like, how sometimes like you just see it in person or you experience in person. It's like, yeah.
uh it feels like the she is the Ryan Gosling of this year. It's later, but it's that vibe to me. Like, of course she's gonna get in. She steals the whole movie.
Um, yeah, and then like they love like it's I think it's gonna do well at SAG. I mean, I don't know like beyond her ensemble, but I guess that's what I mean. Like it could get her an ensemble at
I
SAG.
I actually put her in. I put Cynthia in too at SAG.
Yeah,
Um,
Cynthia can definitely get into
I
SAG.
put it's her Cynthia ensemble.
I don't
Um,
know like how like I mean I know you do too, like we know how big Wicked the musical is, right? Like do international people know that? Like what is the Wicked IP to international people?
a good question. I think it probably would travel. I also think Ariana Grande is a huge international icon, and so I think it will travel because of her alone.
Yeah, but I just mean like the general excitement over it because
Right,
obviously people have been waiting 21 years for this movie
right.
or part one of the movie.
Um, Supporting actor, I didn't do anything. I still have Yura Borisov in there, and the other four.
I might keep him too. I've seen a lot of people go back to the Tooch since Conclave has been killing it at the box
It,
office,
it
which
would
who
not
could happen.
it would not surprise me in the least. I almost went back to Tooch, but I was like, I've been so down on picking a fave among the Conclave guys that I just won't do it. But I could see it happening
I'm
for
gonna keep
sure.
Yura because I have him at 100 to 1. So
I also think that he just feels like an obvious coattail for Mikey Madison, and the movie is so liked, and like he's the heart and soul of the film, Joyce.
when are you gonna put Edward Norton after you see A Complete Unknown?
Boy, it would take a lot. I'm not vibing with him in the trailer though. He is one of my all-time favorite actors. I will say that. So, Complete Unknown, I find I'm terribly vexed about what to do with it, which I guess we could talk about at a later date because I was just like I I don't know how heavy to play it in crafts. I don't know where to put it in picture. It could be a big movie though. It could be like if it could get like 8 or 9 nominations, like very reasonably, but it could also just get one or two. And I guess it depends on how it is. And like there's room, I think, for it to bump out some of these contenders in the crafts categories. So no Edward Norton yet for me.
Yeah, I'm not really thinking about it right now.
Um, quickly,
The
just
movie in general, I mean, not just
uh
him.
for did I make any other changes? I made like subtle changes to some of the categories, like adapted screenplay. Actually have Conclave, Sing Sing, Nickel Boys, The Room Next Door, and I'm just going with Hitman. Fuck it. I have it 100 to 1 odds. I'm like, let's go. I could see it getting in here. It's such a strange category. I don't think Dune is getting in. I'm not sold on Emilia Perez getting in or Wicked getting in. So why not?
I'm just gonna keep Dune because I don't want to do anything
And then
else.
original screenplay, I still have, that's where I have, that's the one spot I have September 5. I feel like it'll get in for original screenplay. And I have The Substance too, and then A Real Pain and Brutalist and Nora winning.
I kind of want to put it the substance, but that would mean I have to drop Hard Truths or September 5. Yes. But then if I do, I don't want another. Oh, unless I drop September 5, then it would be another top five here for me.
Interesting.
I'm gonna keep
Uh,
that. I'm gonna.
okay. For cinematography, I put in Nosferatu after we saw it. Not sure if it'll get in, but I think it might.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's not
Um,
black and white, but it's almost black and white.
I'm just gonna keep the top five.
So I have The Brutalist, Dune, Maria, Conclave, and Nosferatu. I assume you have Emilia Perez then?
Yeah,
Okay.
which I'm not like confident in, but I'm just gonna. I don't want to think.
Costumes, I put Wicked at number 1, which I don't think is strange. I think we probably had it number 1.
Wicked could definitely win costumes and production design.
Uh, in production design, I have Wicked at number 1. I have Conclave in there as well, and Blitz. I kept Blitz. I kept Blitz in costumes and production design. Um, Let me think of what else I did. I put Nosferatu in makeup and hair.
I can see it.
I put it. It's fantastic.
Yeah,
It's
I mean, I
not.
already had it in there, so
Oh,
I had.
I didn't have it in there. Not to sound like too basic, but could not even recognize Bill Skarsgård.
This is your new Gerald Jerome with no leg.
It's pretty great, and the voice is the best. So I also put it
The
in.
voice is the best.
I also thought about putting it in sound. I think I might do that too. And what else? Anything else that I do? No. Oh, and score. We talk about score? I guess when Dune was ineligible, but now they're gonna send it in anyway to see if they can make it through, which they probably
They
should.
haven't officially been declared by the Academy as being ineligible.
I could see them. I don't know if they would be declared as ineligible. I don't know. So many sequels have
I mean,
gotten.
you can go ahead and time the 20% yourself. So
I'm not gonna, but I put challengers in with A Room Next Door, Wild Robot, Conclave, and Brutalist. Not sure challengers will make it in, but I'm also like, what if it does?
I just don't know if they'll go for that type of score.
I know. I have it in fifth. I could see changing it out.
Like it's like the cool score.
Uh, so that's it. Any other picks you make or changes?
No. Yeah, I don't do a lot like you. So
So with those changes, this will segue us into Emilia Perez. Watch it now on Netflix, Joyce. I had it winning at Telluride. I still think it's a solid movie. What's your we've really not talked about it in length. What's your take on Emilia Perez?
I enjoyed it when I watched it.
Hmm.
I wouldn't say it's my favorite movie of the year, but I think like we've said, like its charm is in the performances and you can get really swept away by them and you really have to like buy into the story because it's a Spanish language crime musical melodrama
Hmm.
about a cartel boss who is seeking gender affirmation surgery.
That is correct.
Yes.
Um, when I saw it at Telluride, I was not. I think I've mentioned this, but I was not vibing with it in the first like 35 minutes. Couldn't get on the wavelength. And then it won me over slowly but surely throughout the rest of the running time. And I was really moved, I think, by the end. I thought the ending is great. Not going to spoil the movie, but I was like, I thought the ending is like really strong. It ends like the best. I think it ends at a high note, which we've talked about. It's like a great kind of way to be for a movie to have good feels after it. Then I saw New York Film Festival and I was really enjoyed it. I think it's like very solid. It's not like one of my favorite movies ever. And if I was making a list of favorite movies of the year, it would probably be like in the 15 to 20 range. But it's good.
Yeah, I found the third act a little rushed. Like this movie is more than 2 hours long, and I felt like they were really stepping on the gas there in the third act, and things wrapped up kind of quickly.
And you really have to like you're bringing in like Edgar Ramirez's character is really not a factor until he just very much is.
Does he even have any lines until the third act?
Maybe. Um, to me, I felt like the reason I liked it too is it feels like very like we've talked about how will Netflix normies react. I actually think they will be fine with it because it feels very much to me like a Tony Scott movie or like like an action. It's like it is not a highbrow uh movie to me. It's a musical, which maybe is a too, which is like the bridge too far for some, but I think it's like not. It is like a fun, it's like it is not like a highbrow movie to me, I guess.
No. I also wonder because like it is kind of messy, but I think that actually works in its favor. And I wonder if the fact that it is such a cocktail of different genres that you as the viewer are a little more forgiving of its messiness. And like you'll be watching it and you're like, that doesn't really work, but like it's okay.
I actually, yes, I agree with. I like my takeaway watching it the second time was like all the messy stuff was a feature, not a bug to me. Because I was like, I think it's like really going for things. It's like a big swing, obviously. I've heard that 1,000 times about this movie. What a swing. Such a big swing. You got to appreciate the swing. And I do. And I do think the performances are great. Um, we've talked about this. I think the musical aspect of it is cool, but the way it is executed doesn't lend itself to like you're not listening to the soundtrack as much.
No, yeah, we've talked about this when we were first making our original song picks because we both only have one of them
Yes.
putting in. And we both went with Mi Camino, which is Selena's karaoke
Hmm.
song. And I think number one in the odds is El Mal, right? Which
Yes.
is Zoe Saldaña's second big number in the middle when she performs it, or not performs it at the gala, but that's the sequence. It's at a fundraising gala and she's on tables and everything. And yeah, I think for me with musicals, you need catchy songs, you need earworms that people want to constantly listen to. And I think the Emilia Perez songs work best in the context of the movie. And a lot of them are also just not like actual songs, like it's a like spoken word, like sing speak type
Hmm.
of songs.
Which
You know,
I found cool, but again, like you're saying, like not something you're walking out, gotta listen to this on Spotify.
yeah. And then what your wife called one of them like it's like death metal.
Why are we listening to this Spanish language death metal? Was the quote. And hard to
Great
argue.
endorsements.
That's the Meemaw. That's in first place. I will say this. I think people are conflating the scene with the song. If
Yes.
if if you if we're giving Oscars for like the song's use in the film, I have actually no argument with that winning. I think that scene is like the best part of the movie.
Yeah.
It's probably why Zoe will win her Oscar, frankly, even though she's like really good the whole time. But like that is such an undeniable moment in the movie. But the song divorced from the scene is not what you want. This is not an insult to the song. I'm just saying, like, it is so inherently tied to her dancing and the performance and the visuals. So yeah. Uh, with this recent update that I did, Joyce, I now have Amelia Perez only in four of the categories we can predict: picture, supporting actress, actress, and song.
Remember when you had it winning picture without director or screenplay nominations?
I do. Hey, it's a different Academy, Joyce. Anything is possible. Now, we've seen so many crazy things fall. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens someday. I really wouldn't. And maybe it's Amelia Perez this year because I think, like you're saying, the award it won at Cannes and the way the jury reacted to it is the actresses are fucking amazing. All of them deserve an award. And we'll give it a special jury prize because we don't know what to do with it. And it didn't get anything else, right? It didn't win the Palm. It didn't win like screenplay. It wasn't a runner up. Um, so yeah, I could see a winning Best Picture still with very limited. below the line and even director, writer, editing support. But am I like wildly off base to not have it anywhere else right now? That feels wrong, but maybe it's not. I just don't know. Like I'm like, will any of those individual crafts categories think this is the best five of the year?
I feel like it could get anywhere between like 4 and 10 nominations, and I would not be surprised.
So the one I
It
don't have here that we can't predict is obviously international. So I would obviously have that as well, and I think it's going to win international feature. That would be
it
five for me.
I yeah, like I've talked to some people who are not into the visuals at all of the film. They're not voters, but voters could feel the same way, you
And
know.
again, with the way the cinematography race is, I dropped it for Nosferatu. Nosferatu is uh Robert Eggers' movie. Um, Looks great, right? Like cinematographer nominated previously for Lighthouse, but black and white. So I was like, okay, like not necessarily black and white, but almost black and white. A lot of monochromatic stuff, and it just looks awesome. And I think it looks so much more. It's much more adventurous to me than Emilia Perez. Not as a knock on Emilia Perez, I guess. So that's why I put it in over Emilia Perez there.
Yeah, I mean, like Emilia Perez's cinematography, it is flashy too. But I understand why some people don't like it. Like it plays with light a lot and spotlight.
A lot of
When they're
spotlights.
yeah, a lot of spotlight when they're like focusing on one single character.
Mm-hmm.
And the first and third acts are mostly in the dark too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's yeah, that's the vibe of it. And there's lots of colors, lots of reds too. But I think it will be a stronger movie than Nosferatu.
True.
So it has that going for it. And then like the other crafts like editing and sound, like yes, it can get in. But again, I if it missed, I'll be like, oh yeah. Like it wouldn't be a shock to me, I don't think.
So the issue with sound, I would argue, and why I don't have it in there, and why I think Wicked and Complete Unknown would be above them for me, above Amelia Perez, is like there is some cool stuff with the Amelia Perez sound, but I think because the music performance, like it's the music performance, or even though it's a musical, the music performances are not like the focus, I guess, to me. And I was like, in like Wicked, it's so clearly like, man, this is great, great sound, beautiful sound. I feel like with the way the singing is
Well,
rendered.
Amelia sound is also more than just music. Like I think the all the shootout
Mm-hmm.
sequences are good. Like that was good sound design.
Cool. Very cool.
So
And the
it
whispering is really good. A lot of whispering.
yeah.
Great whispering.
So good mixing there.
Yeah.
And obviously a lot of really flashy cuts for editing too. So
It, with the sound, I feel like I would absolutely, if there was two categories, I would have it in because I think it would get in for sound mixing. But I think the way it is now, I'm not sure it can make it in with one sound, and editing certainly can make it in. Um, but I don't have it in. So yeah, like you're saying, like so I have it in for four plus an international feature, which we can't do um yet. So that would be five. I feel like that is maybe the floor. What I have is like probably the floor, right? Because it's like movie picture, Zoe and Carla feel incredibly safe in their categories. Um, and the one song at least will get in, seemingly.
what if neither gets in?
What if it doesn't? I mean, look,
Do you think like they'll be better off just focusing on one?
I think they would be better off hosting on Meet Camino because you could also fool people into thinking Selena Gomez also participated as a songwriter, but also she's the best singer, no disrespect to like Zoe or anybody else. And so like I think that should be the focus because it's a good song. It's also a song you can listen to in real life. Like, you know what I mean? Like it feels like a pop song that like maybe
It's a
Selena Gomez
karaoke song.
wouldn't
It's in a
release.
karaoke scene.
Right. So it's like it feels like a real, I'm putting this in air quotes, like a real song. Whereas El Mal and some of the others are really tied to the film. You know, they're less song sing worthy than Mi Camino. And I don't have it in for score either, but I know it's in the
I
top
don't
five
have it
of the
in for
odds.
score either, and I don't have it in for screenplay.
No, we never really had it in for screenplay once it moved, and slash like it feels like they're not gonna go for a musical in the screenplay
I
category,
mean, even if it were allowed to be an original, I wouldn't have it.
right? Um,
So,
so that
it could be like, how it could be like another musical that just wins one award for its supporting actress.
and so let's talk about this then. So like its best chance to win is Zoe Saldaña, right? Like that's got to be like it's if you were ranking what it should win or what it will win, she feels almost undeniable at this point, right?
But is that just because like the collective we, is creating that narrative for her? What if that's not going to be the reality?
So last year, if we were looking last year, Divine Joy Randolph Cruz dominated, won every critics prize, and then also just swept through the televised awards, right? And it felt like, of course, she's going to win. I don't think Zoe will replicate that because I don't think the highbrow critics will give her flowers in that regard. Like it's not New York Film Critics Circle. It's not cool for them to say Zoe Saldana won. Like they'll pick somebody else.
No, but I'm just saying, like, what if she can be taken down by someone? Like, what if it's not secure for her?
Okay,
Or what if it is like what we've seen before with musicals, like they get their consolation prize in supporting actress.
should be like Ariana DeBose, obviously, like the most
Yeah,
recently
but I
awarded.
think that's also a little different because that was already an Oscar winning role. Um,
Anne Hathaway.
yeah. I mean, like obviously it's like well-known IPs with like the song, you know.
I, yeah, I
But what if
mean,
that musical person is Ariana instead?
so based on the way history has shown, it would be Ariana instead. Now, Wicked is I have it in the top four now, I think, right? I have it in fourth place. It is it is hit. I feel like you were saying, applause in the theater. You know it when you see it. Even cynics and skeptics are in love with the vibes of this movie right now. Is it possible that Ariana Grande wins this award? It would be like Ryan Gosling winning for I'm Just Ken for Barbie, but it didn't happen because Downey was so obviously undeniable and with the Best Picture winner.
I don't know if she'll go all the way. Like I can see her hitting precursors and also not making it into like,
Mhm.
like
Same,
I can see Wicked being like Best Picture in crafts.
same.
That's it too. But yeah, I think what she has going for her is that in this film, like Linda is, she's the one narrating the story, and then she does have all the crowd pleasing funny moments. Like there's and she does like physical comedy. It's not just line readings, it's
This like
physical comedy.
like this
Yeah,
right
like
here.
well, I mean the hair tossing is like a motif anyway, but like when she just like plops down on her bed, like yesterday, like the audience was like losing it. And yeah, obviously she's a great singer and she also changed the way she normally sings because that's not how she sings in her day job as a singer. And yeah, and then she also has dramatic material in the Ozda's ballroom scene and then at the end obviously when they separate. So I think she checks a lot of elements that would make her an Oscar nominee and also an Oscar winner, frankly, too.
And like we said, like looking at the past musical winners in this category, it feels like she is much more like that than Zoe Saldana.
For an like original musical.
So Ariana, and I also so like here's the other thing. I think I've seen a lot of headlines. How does the election impact the Oscar race, right? Like that's been like that's the hack way to go about it. And many people were happy to grab that. One thing I will say is I think in 2016 when Trump won, it felt like there was such a mass outrage from the progressive community and especially Hollywood about like how terrible it was and how dangerous everything was, and mostly proven true, obviously. Um, this time around, it just feels different, and I also think that like if you're thinking like, can Wicked actually win Best Picture, which is obviously not what we're talking about, and we could talk about that next week, but I'm like, it does feel like the crowd pleasing, happy feeling movie that does have a message relevant to now. You could bend that, you could make it work. And I wonder if that has a better, if it ends up being like a top, even if it's not going to win, if it ends up being like a top three movie, like I think Ariana Grande's win chances increase like exponentially.
Um, yeah, I mean, it also we also have to see if she's able to win anything beforehand too. Like what, imagine if she wins the Globe, instead of Zoe.
I, would it be totally shocking if she did at this point? I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, the old Globes, I would say 100% she would win. The new Globes, I don't know.
Yeah. I
She
don't
could
know.
still win.
Yeah.
What if she wins
I
Critics'
think she's
Choice?
surprising people, which is what I was trying to get to before, what I was saying. Like I think people, I mean, she's talked about it herself. She understood the skepticism when she was cast because a lot of people only know her as a pop star.
Yes. And it's a surprise. It's fun. Zoe is great in the movie and a borderline lead, and actually like, really good. I think
I mean,
she's
they're
like,
both co-leads in their films.
sure. Um, but like we said, in terms of like a musical, like you want this song, like Anne Hathaway won because of like I Dreamed a Dream, right? Or isn't that her song? Obviously, is that then like, and Ariana DeBose won because of like America, and so Zoe Saldana could win, but like we are just saying, like her big songs are not popular.
Pun intended.
Yes, and like Ariana Grande's got fucking popular, and you know who loves popular? Most people who listen to the song. My
Yeah,
daughter
like
knows every
obviously
word to it.
Defying Gravity is the song of Wicked.
Sure.
And she has, some lines in that song as well, but popular is popular.
It is absolutely fantastic
Yeah.
song that I think people like.
And
So
that sequence in the film is so great
so
too.
good. Um, so I could see her winning. Like
So are we saying if, in that case, if she wins, then Emilia Perez will win nothing?
I still think it will win international feature, depending on what is nominated there, but I think it's probably okay. I think. And we don't know like how the other thing is like we actually don't know what the industry thinks of this. We know that
Yeah.
it won, like I said, the Cannes jury, which had like a good mix of like I think it was a very populist jury this year with like Greta Gerwig and Lily Gladstone, and like these are like, you know, like big figures in Hollywood, and like I felt like so winning the actress thing there is like that is the best part of the movie, like we're saying, is the performances and the way they work together. um so like I think it'll play well. We don't know what the industry thinks. It played really well at festivals, like I said, like at Telluride it played well. uh it played great at New York Film Festival. Toronto, it finished second to audience award, probably would have won. So all of those things to me scream like big Oscar Best Picture top three contender, or maybe winner. We don't know what the industry will think yet, but I just don't like it doesn't feel like all that being said, I'm like, I just feel like, and especially this year with these late movies maybe actually hitting, I do think it like hurts the momentum a little bit. I mean, and I don't think it'll have the critics' momentum because critics don't seem to actually really like the movie.
I don't know what its scores are, but yeah, it's a little bit, I think it's more mixed critically, which doesn't really matter for what the industry thinks. I mean,
No.
like Guillermo del Toro is out there stumping for it, moderating Q&As.
Let's sidetrack about this. It's got 82% of Rotten Tomatoes. It's not like it's a negative thing, but it's not, and it's like 77.4 on, I guess, Metacritic. Let me see. Hold on.
7.4. Is that the audience
No,
rate?
sorry, that's the audience. I'm sorry.
They're
Looking at the
like
wrong thing, Joyce.
out of 100.
Googling, not Googling during the show. Not always a great thing. I know a lot of people do it, but I shouldn't do it. 71 on Metacritic, 7.2 from users.
I mean,
That
that sounds about right for
it
me.
sounds about right.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't think like the highbrow critics are not going to line up behind it, which I think would have helped.
Yeah, and there is, I mean, we've talked about like how it's probably going to be the Oscar villain of the season.
Yeah.
Um, and some people will take issue with um, how it deals and portrays trans women, trans people, and some people will take issue with the ending
Hmm.
too. So, but I think we talked about this last week. Like, I think most voters probably won't think that deeply about it.
And that's why I was like, if you're gonna say it could win and win with like a lower number of nominations, it does remind me in a way of Green Book, which I'm sure people don't who are associated with the movie maybe don't necessarily want to hear because I think Amelia Perez is cooler and maybe and certainly to me much better than Green Book. But if you're talking about it from like a political aspect, where Green Book obviously was castigated as retrograde in its depiction of race relations, but Academy members were like, actually, this is kind of what we want, which is like, can't we all just get along, basically? And Amelia Perez, there are some reviews. We talked about this, and then like we're like, are there trans critics who reviewed it? Um, I think Juan Barquin from Little White Lies was one I found that I read. And they were like very negative on the film, but very interesting to read. And I found a couple others that I don't remember who wrote. So, but I did read some more, and I was like, I do think all of this stuff is valid. But I also think that, like we said, mainstream Academy 65-year-old progressive people are going to say, actually, this is a look how great this is. Like, let's embrace this movie. Um, and like the trans community is not a monolith anyway, right? So like,
Exactly.
so
Yeah.
I could see it playing really well and still winning, I guess is what I would say. But I also wonder, yeah, like I think it has like you could go to like 10 or 11 nominations, but I don't know. I do wonder, like, if Wicked wasn't good and wasn't like this, I think it would
Do
be
you think
better
like
off.
Wicked is after next week? Do you think Wicked is going to take over as like the musical option? Not that there just needs to be
I
one,
I kind
but
of like a little
I mean,
bit.
obviously it's going to be way bigger than Emilia Perez.
I just think a little bit. I don't know. I think like when you like before like in a vacuum, I was like, this is a great rollout. It was at Cannes. It won a couple of awards. Netflix picked it up. They're going to bring it to all the fall festivals very carefully and play to these different groups. And like all of them are like all of those festivals have like different like bellwethers, I feel like, or in terms of like what the audience means. Like this, my good friend Tom Bernard was saying this. He was like, if I want to get
Oh,
a
have you talked
sense,
to him again?
no, this is still from the one time I talked to him. He's not going to talk to me. Give me a fucking,
Why
come on.
not?
He's
You
not
you
going
had a
to, Tom,
connection there.
Tom, call me up. But he was like, if I want to know how a film is going to play with audiences, I take it to TIFF. And like, if I want to know how it's going to play with like old rich people, I'll take it to Telluride. And if I want to play how it's going to play with like elite, elite voices in the past, I would have taken it to New York, but maybe slightly diminished now or whatever. Like that was kind of the thing. So I'm like, Netflix did that, and they got the old white folks at Telluride who were super rich, like loved it. Toronto, obviously, a broad spectrum of people there really liked it. Second place audience, and we probably would have won if it was a WP. New York Film Festival, he even played well.
Yeah,
And
and
so,
we talked about like how um relieved like
mhm.
Netflix was at the reception at
and
New York.
and so all of that worked, and then now it's like got the little rollout, and then it's coming out this week. It's out right now. You can watch it on Netflix, and I think it'll do well on Netflix. And yet with Wicked, like just hanging out there, I'm like, man, this is gonna be like it's just going to be so big. And in a lot of the categories, I think, or at least like, supporting actress and stuff, I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know if it could win anything. I don't know. But maybe I'm undercutting like a lot of it. Like we said, editing certainly could get in, cinematography,
Yeah, they could
score.
love Emilia Perez, the industry, I mean, could love Emilia Perez more than
It
Wicked.
also, like you're saying, does Wicked travel? Emilia Perez, at least to me, profiles like an international flavor, an international film that the
Yes,
Academy
and
has
then and
embraced.
it's original,
Yes.
and I kind of feel like maybe that's something that also tripped up West Side Story. I mean, like that had other issues too, but that underperformed at BAFTA as well, you
So the
know.
one thing I would say with West Side Story, and the reason I think it's slightly different from Wicked, is there's obviously like an all-time movie already of West Side Story.
Yeah, but I
And
don't even think the original did that well at BAFTA. I mean, obviously different time. It probably wasn't even released the same year.
right. But I'm just saying, like, I don't know. I'm like, I could see like this is being the original the first and definitive version of Wicked
Yeah,
Part One.
I just mean like, does Wicked mean as much to international voters as it means to American voters and theater nerds, and like New Yorkers,
Yeah, we're talking,
like
and
it's
again,
huge
like,
here.
and Emilia Perez playing really well, and they are probably hyper target. And like we said, any clip I've seen on social media, people like in the room are like in love with the film, and I love the in the room shit. But I'm like, man, when you're in the room with these actors, you're like, it's intoxicating. You're very excited about it. So I think there is enthusiasm for it overall, and that's why I still think it can win Best Picture. I guess. Do you think is it possible? Is it possible to win Best Picture without a screenplay, without directing, and without editing? Does it have to get one of those three nominations to win?
Yes.
It has to.
Yes.
And so you have it in right now for which of those three?
For director.
So let's talk about that. And he profiles certainly as like the type of international director that they have embraced. He's obviously Jacques Audiard. Is it Renegade Auteur? I keep messing it up.
It's Renegade author. You keep saying Maverick and it's Renegade. We still don't know what he's rebelling against, but it's Renegade.
He's the Renegade Auteur behind Emilia Perez. Um, I think this is maybe my limited view of like international features and directors, obviously. So I'm just coming at this. I think they're selling. Netflix is trying to sell that this is like he's due type nomination, but I don't have any sense that in reality people necessarily care one way or another, not a negative or a positive about Jacques Audiard, and are like he's not to me. It's not like a in that top echelon of international directors who has not been nominated, I guess. But am I wrong because I'm an idiot? Maybe.
I mean, yeah, maybe. Um, I think, he would definitely need like the Euro backing. So I mean, like last week, Emilia Perez got 4 European Film Award nominations, the most,
Mm-hmm.
with The Room Next Door, including for Jacques. So I think that's good. It's like there is some support there, like something we like a data point. And today they announced the craft winners, and it won for editing. So, and neither of us have it getting in for editing.
So if I was going to put it in for director, if I was going to put him back in, keep flip flopping. Uh, I would, I guess most logical, normal people would say it would be Denny or Ridley Scott, and most people probably are out on Ridley Scott, right? Because like he hasn't been nominated, he's never won, hasn't been nominated in years. They have not been showing a lot of enthusiasm for the Ridley Scott output in the last couple of decades. And Denny is obviously campaigning like hell. Of those two, I still might drop Denny to put Jock in. I don't know. I just have a feeling about Ridley. I just feel like he's going to get in. Like this is the year. That said, Ridley's out there throwing haymakers at everybody. And I'm like, maybe directors are just not, maybe are like, fuck off. I don't know. It's such a small branch, right? Like, so like if he pisses enough people off, then maybe he doesn't get in.
I think he needs Gladiator to really be a big hit.
Do you think it matters? Like, how do you think that, like the director's branch is very small, right? Like, what is it, 150 maybe, 150
Yeah.
members? And directors, again, tell me if I'm wrong. They don't seem like there's a lot of like honor among thieves, right? There's not. You think there's like a text chain of like there's certainly obviously groups of directors like Guillermo del Toro and Alfonso Cuarón and Alejandro González Iñárritu are like friends. But I'm like, do you think like Quentin Tarantino when Ridley Scott is like, you know, fuck off or whatever, or do you think like he's like texting his friends being like, man, really sucks, huh? Like, do you think there's that level of familiarity with this group?
No, I think that doesn't just apply to directors. I think with all famous people, I think the public likes to think that all of these people are friends because they see
Yes,
them hang out at award
I
shows or
I
they
do.
work together.
I
I
do.
think you see this symptom a lot with TV shows because obviously a TV show can run for years, and then the stands like feel like the actors need to be best friends and hang out all the time. Like, no, they don't. They're just that's a friend from work, Like you don't need to hang out with them outside of work,
I
right? It's just
know.
like real life. You don't need to hang out with someone outside of work.
True. I
That
could
doesn't mean
barely
you don't
hang
get
out with my
along.
real. I could barely hang out with my real friends, Joyce.
Exactly. And so I think with like directors, I think you can tell who's friends IRL. right? Like the three amigos. I think like Marty and Steven Spielberg are friends,
Yeah, and George
right?
Lucas and
Yeah, but
Spielberg.
I
Yeah.
also don't think they're constantly talking to each other, right?
No, I mean, like, I don't talk to, like, in just real life. Do you talk
Exactly.
to your
And
friends?
like that's
Like,
the great thing is about being really good friends with someone. You could not talk to them
right.
for weeks or months and then pick up out of nowhere and it's totally fine.
And so
So
let me ask you, then how about, like, just on this, do you think, like, yeah, I'll probably say yes, because anything, I guess, like, do Denny and Ridley, can they both get in, or does one knock out the other? Or do they neither of them get in?
I don't think they would both get in. I mean, I'm
Right.
not confident in what I have, which is the five. Like I have Denny in there, but I'm not confident that this is
Right.
happening. I could see something weird being happening, or something weird happening, or just I
Well,
don't know.
let
Like
me,
they,
Tarantino, again, not to harp on this, because he's very
he's
outspoken.
not watching Dune, okay?
So, like, that was one where I was like, remember when it reminded me a little bit of when, holy shit, what's his name? I can't believe I'm blanking on this. I gotta Google it. Getting old, Joyce, is not fun. You don't remember things at all. Ruben Ostlund.
Wow. That's because you hate a triangle of sadness.
I hate a Triangle of Sadness, but remember, he was one, like, everyone was like, fuck yeah, Greta Gerwig. You were more mattered, but a lot of people were like, fuck yeah, Greta Gerwig getting nominated for Barbie and blah, blah, blah. And Ruben Ostlund was like, it sucked, right? Like, wasn't he like, this is just a toy, like, not interested in this? And it felt like, oh, at the time, it was like, oh, he's just a grump. Like, what does he know? And then, like, she didn't get nominated from that branch. And I'm like, does Quentin Tarantino, while I'm sure he's not texting like Ruben Ostlund and a million other directors, is his idea of being like, I don't care about Dune. Like, is that potentially like more prevalent in the branch than we maybe realize? And then does like Denny not get in, Ridley gets in, and Jacques Audiard gets in? Possible, I guess.
I mean, I think the Greta thing had other factors. Like, as
Yes,
you know, I was never high on her getting in the first place.
certainly.
So that,
100%.
like, his comments didn't change anything for
No.
me.
I,
But I think, um, like with Quentin and that whole thing, like, it's, I think it's different because it's like, I think that's more his personal preference than what Ruben was saying in general about
yeah.
Barbie, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Okay. Um, I guess we'll see. Joyce, we're gonna wrap it there. This is fun. We're gonna do our emails tomorrow. Emails at slugfest@goldderby.com. I will not read your email if you send it today, but I will read it in the coming days. And then next week, Joyce, we're hopping on the the Wicked and Gladiator train.
We've already said so much.
Not a lot though. I think we'll say more. We have not talked
That's
about
just hot
Gladiator in
air. We've
weeks.
said nothing really.
No, we say all kinds of great things. We have not talked about Gladiator in weeks though. So, and we could debate whether it's Glickid, Wikiator,
No,
any of the portmanteaus.
no, because it's way too forced.
Okay, I'll think of some more. I'm gonna like look at this. I'm gonna talk. I'm gonna talk to Chat GPT and see what it could come up with. All right, we'll talk to you then. Bye.